Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to Money, Sex, and God. I'm super excited to be bringing on two incredible human beings who are doing such profound work in the world. Um, okay, cool. They're going to be jumping on in a bit. I'll tell you a little bit about them before they come on live. So we have two people this time, which is really exciting. We've got Amanda Bickham and Sprout Love, both of whom are incredible teachers of sexuality, of Eros. I especially love them because they're in this very new dynamic, this new paradigm of relating and being with one another in a way that is bringing lots of juiciness to the world. Here they are. Let's see if we can get our energy vibing on the first time around. Make sure to say hi to them. Let's see. Oh my God. Did it work? No way.
It's working.
Oh God, that's so good. So good. How are you guys
How are you, babe?
in Holland?
We just finished the Tantra Festival, so we're out here actually in nature. Everything's wrapping up. It feels really good. It's been a long week, but a good week.
Good. Hi, Sprout.
How you doing, Genevieve?
I'm fabulous. Thanks for being on. I've never met you, and I'm really excited to meet you, especially after reading your bio and hearing more about you. This is awesome to have you here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You
wonderful to meet you on the interweb.
this way. I love it. Well, let's drop in first, and then I'll have you guys introduce yourselves. But I always like on Money, Sex, and God, I always like to have us drop into our bodies first, live, so that people can see how we do it, so that they can then start to do the same. So I know that Amanda, she sent me her blueprint. She said that she's a kinky energetic. So that's kind of my favorite. So we'll drop into kinky energetic.
Woo!
Yay, fun. Okay, so and I'll kind of guide us through, and then I'm going to give you guys time to play on your own and show kind of how you would go about it so that we can kind of merge both of our ways. Cool?
Beautiful.
So go ahead and close your eyes. And everyone watching, please join us in this. Okay, whoever is watching, be a part of this. Join us in this. We can feel your energy. And let's start with the energetic by simply placing one hand on your heart and one hand on the lower belly and feeling your energy here in the space. Good. And then moving into a little bit of energetic touch by taking just your fingertips and placing them anywhere that you have skin, and very, very slowly allowing yourself to feel the tips of your fingertips on the hairs of your arm or your chest or anywhere. Now I want to bring a little bit of dark energy here into this for Amanda's blueprint. So bringing a little bit of naughtiness just in the way that you're touching your own skin. Maybe by pressing a fingernail in a little deeper. Maybe by holding a place on the skin that feels a little taboo. Maybe by bringing in any psychological components to pleasuring your own body live and allowing that to be a part of the taboo kinky naughty. Good. And then finding a place that you can be still and also grabbing like a part of your body pretty sternly. So you can grab the hips, you can grab the hair, you can grab the neck. So kind of like a forceful grab, and then finding stillness in the same spot and just allowing the energy to move through the body. And then let's slowly come back and open our eyes.
I like that. I could just stay there. You could just keep us there. You're doing
The
great.
whole time. Can we do an hour of that? Do we have to talk? Why would we talk? What's the point? There is none. Amazing. What are you guys feeling in your body?
I feel. Yeah, I was hoping that that was just going to be your whole podcast.
Yeah, me too. We'll end like that too. But I really want to see you guys play together. So maybe we'll end with some of that. If you're down. I want to see the duet, like how because Amanda and I were talking about the shifts between self-pleasure and pleasure together, divine pleasure together. And I'd love to see the difference if there is any, or if it's all the same damn thing, because it may be that as well. Amanda, what are you feeling in your body?
It was interesting. When you asked to grab, like the instant part of myself that wanted to be grabbed was my belly, because it was feeling tense and it was feeling tight. And just that awareness of like meeting that tension or that tightness with the same tension or tightness. When I feel into my body now, it's like there's more space. So I feel more spacious, which is beautiful.
Awesome. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Yay. I guess we should talk. Can you guys let them know who you are? Give a little intro. I just want to hang out, but can you?
Yeah. We're also like in this like gooey tantra field, so everybody's just like feeling everything. You know, the tantric hugs where you're like holding each other and breathing for like, yeah.
I had a 10-minute hug last week. I went on a date and it was literally, my Uber was 10 minutes away. And he was like, I'm going to hold you for 10 minutes, the entire, and like, there was no waiver. It was just 10 minutes of intensity in the middle of Brooklyn. So good.
So good for your nervous system. My goodness.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah. So tell us who you are. There are people watching. Hi, people. Tell us who you are.
Go first.
You go first.
Okay, so I really don't like this question. It's interesting because I feel like I'm shape-shifting all the time, right? Like who I am today is something completely different than who I'll be in a year. And I was actually just thinking about that. I feel much more in alignment for talking into like what I stand for, which is always coming through in different patterns depending on what I feel is present and alive. And so a lot of the work that I do is helping, first of all, decondition, like helping people decondition, which is something you do amazing work at. Like the shadows, the shit, whatever we're shame and guilt, wherever these like darker layers of our humanity lie, how do we see them and hold them as everything is divine, right? And so this plays out for all of us in different ways. We often play small, or we play these roles of what I should be doing this. I should go to school. I should go to college. I should go to, work for corporate. I should, whatever the shoulds are. I should have a relationship that's, love is me and one person and we're together until death do us part or whatever. So a big part of the work that I do is around helping people shift or become aware of the story that they're telling themselves. And through that story, how do they begin to create the reality that they desire? And it just so happens that sexuality is the gateway in my experience and yours, and I know Sprouts as well. It's like this gateway to the most vital life force that we have. So how can we tap into that and instead of pushing it down, actually utilize it as a force that helps us get clearer and find more alignment with whatever it is we're supposed to, or like, whatever it is our soul's purpose is, essentially. So working with sex energy is just an awesome, amazing opportunity to have fun and have more pleasure and help de-shamify the world.
I always say there's a lot of ways we can get there. Sex is just a really fun way to do it. Like, why not? Right? Because we could do it by sitting on a mountain for 20 years. I would rather be having orgasms. So I don't know.
Same. And that's, I mean, my background comes from that, right? Super spiritual, meditation, yoga. And it's like, damn, this shit's boring. Like, I want more pleasure. I'm in this human body. Like, let me utilize it to the best of the ability.
The aliveness. So. Yeah, totally. Thank you for being incarnated on the planet.
It's my pleasure. And I didn't always understand that fully.
Yeah, totally. Sprout, I was reading, Amanda sent me a bit about you, and it was really just more my curiosity than anything else. And I was reading it, and I was like, I love this human. I love what you have created and where you play in, specifically around the darkness. And allowing darkness to come in. It made me so excited. I don't know if you know about my history at all, but I came into this world through kink. I was a pro-dom in New York, and then found my renaissance from dark, gruesome, dirty places, and then excavated that and found that it's all the same. But using that darkness to get to that place of bliss, I can resonate with you there, and I'm obviously making a lot of suppositions, but I read some of it and I was like, yes, my people. So can you kind of fill in the blanks a little bit more and tell them more about how you're showing up in the world?
Yeah, well, this current iteration of flowering that Sprout is doing is all around money, power, and sex. And before that, I was a hippie with dreadlocks, creating an eco village, doing solar power stuff, and I just hadn't integrated these parts of myself. And when I started tapping into my sexuality, it was like, why is it that I want to tie my partner up and spank her? I thought, it's like where it started 10 years ago. And so what I did was I tied up my partner and spanked her, and it was really good. And so starting to, as I started down that path, I started in the world of kink, playing around with dominance and submission, and playing around with bondage, which eventually got me into, the deeper I went into that, the deeper I really realized this was a space to meet God. And as that was happening, when there was a lack of consciousness in that container, I realized that, as I was going deeper and I couldn't be met in that depth, I had to go to other fields of awareness, which eventually got me deeper into shibari, the ritual and prayer through ropes, specifically getting into suspension and deeper layers of shibari, which eventually got me into tantra and sacred sexuality, because I could be met in the deeper layers there, but not necessarily the darkness there. I met the darkness by going straight. I went straight into my darkness. I wasn't. I was kind of afraid of it. But I was like, you know what? That's where I need to find myself. And even though it was scary, I realized as I was doing it, I was always conscious. I was not getting out of control. I wasn't. I was always aware. Even though the world of, say, BDSM might look scary and out of control, I was always very aware of what I was doing. So I just needed to keep going deeper. And I don't really care to speak about other people in their path of BDSM and where they are in their layers. I needed more layers for myself, which got me to God. And then ultimately at that point, I just have all these tools, all really going to the same space.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so my darkness was, as it came into the light, as I brought it into the light, became a beautiful flavor. It just embedded in me, I can't escape it. It's probably always been in me, but was so suppressed in me in the past that I lived the first 25 years of my life mainly not having sex.
Yeah. Thank you for telling a little bit of that story. And I'm so resonating just with the, I remember when I started in kink, I've always been very kinky, very BDSM. My early fantasies as a little girl were like always kinky related, like cutting off heads of men and like blood at like 9 years old. And I was like, what is going on? And so I hid that part of myself. I was really afraid. I was really ashamed. I remember trying to be like a normal woman and like give myself like roses and baths to try to masturbate, and being like, this is not working for my nervous system at all. It could not figure it out. And then I kept pushing it away. So it was coming out in these really unconscious ways. Like I love that you said the consciousness around it. I didn't have that experience. I was funky. Like I was bringing it out all sorts of weird, controlling, manipulative, shameful ways of working with my sexuality, because there was no safe place for me to explore it consciously. And then finally finding that as an adult in my explorations and recognizing the level of deep surrender. I mean, I get tied up and suspended and hung upside down once every 3 weeks on average, because if not, I'm not surrendered enough. My flow, I'm not in flow. My nervous system is not able to just go with the flow unless, that's something that my body needs. And recognizing it, feeding it, allowing it to be there so that there's a depth of love and presence in God, as you say, is just absolutely beautiful. So thank you for sharing that story. I really resonate. I'm really excited about that. And I'd love to hear a little bit about what is showing up between you two, right? Like what's here in the middle? Like we've got his story, we've got your story, and then what's created in the middle between Amanda and Sprout? Either of you can answer that one.
Because it played out yesterday. And here's one thing that's really alive. So when I first met Amanda, I don't know at what point she tells me she got tied up once, and she didn't really like it. It felt like she was getting raped, right? And I've been playing with ropes for a long time, so I take it or leave it. I don't need to tie up anybody, but I do have a deep passion for shibari, and like it is my fire. And I heard this message that she feels like she's getting raped. Okay, she doesn't really want that. That's fine. I don't need that. We can meet God in many ways. So whatever, like all fine and dandy. And these last couple of weeks, she's been kind of talking about it a little bit, and it hasn't been very clear to me, like what she's trying to insinuate. I got the download last night. So then I come in here. I come in and I'm gonna do. I had a shibari session yesterday, and I had somebody. The filming person here at the Tantra Festival was like, "Hey, I'd love to make a 20-minute video of you." So I was like, "Okay, I'll come in and do a ritual." Then I was like, "Okay, I got to find somebody for a ritual." And I was lack of sleep. I came to Amanda and I was like, "Hey, I need to find somebody for this ritual." And she throws out a name of this woman that's here, like, "Here, do her." And I was like, "Okay, perfect." Didn't have to think too much. I went and got this woman, and little did I know that this was kind of triggering to Amanda. And so yeah, that's all fine and dandy. And we go through the evening, and I end up in bed, and we end up talking. And she comes back, and she tells me that she was kind of triggered, and she went and got another man to tie her up. And then that triggered me. And I was like, wait a second. Wait a second. You didn't even ask me to tie you up. Like, that kind of hurts. That hurts my little sprouty ego, Like, damn, if I had known you wanted to be tied, I would have damn well tied you up. And that's like what's alive right now in this beautiful sphere of Holland.
How's it feel to tell that story? Does it make you feel good?
It just cracks me up. Such a good one. So classic. What a good one.
It's so classic. I'm glad you told it, because I mean, I'm sure everyone can relate. Like everyone. That's such a classic story of how we play with each other and how we step on each other's toes and like right? Like that's what we do. It's beautiful. Amanda, how did it feel hearing that story out loud?
Well, we were up till like 7:30 in the morning processing this. We were like,
and making love.
Yeah, there's like processing, making love, Yeah, I mean, so for me, one of the things that I really appreciate about Sprout is like, I haven't ever really felt like I've been met in the way that Sprout meets me. And there's two parts of it. And this is where I feel like our alignment is so clear. I said to him today, I said, I don't feel like I've ever been able to trust someone so deeply. It's like our whole, story, let's say, or our whole idea around relationship, new paradigm relationship is no labels, no rules, no attachments, no agreements.
Right.
Of course, attachments, they're going to come, but like you do your best to be the consciousness that witnesses them and watches how they play out. And then you choose a different path and as best of your ability. And one of the things that like for me was so powerful is, yeah, like we were in a temple last night and Sprout left the container really early. And then I'm feeling abandoned, this like story of like abandonment, like, oh, well, Sprout's not here. Like, okay, well, I don't want to go find him because who knows, he might be with someone else. I don't know. Like, I'm just going to go enjoy, like, what would allow me to like forget this story of like the whole rope thing or whatever. And like, there was this really beautiful man who was like offered. And so I'm like, okay, it sounds great, And so what was really beautiful is like, I had a feeling it would be triggering. But I needed to do it for me. I needed to do it for me so that I could let go of my desire or my, like and my story is like, if you wanted to fucking tie me up, you would offer, and you haven't offered, but you do it to other women, so it's like, well, I'm not, and there's like some like, yeah, if you really want something, you'll get it. At least that's the way that I play, and so.
Wait. I just have to add, if she really wanted to be tied up, she would have asked me
I
to be tied
did,
up.
but you just didn't hear me. Anyway, so what's going on is this is the language of like the masculine and feminine
cute.
trying to communicate with one another.
It's so good. It's so good.
So what I love about it though, like, is there's a lot of drama that often plays out in these tantric fields, especially in temple containers when you're going in as a couple and you have stories and labels and you can do this but you can't do this, and like this is safe and this is not safe and you need to come talk to me before you do this. Like Sprout and I are just like, I trust you. I trust you. You're in alignment. You're in integrity. I'm in a vibrational frequency. We're mirrors of one another. Like we can move through in solidarity. And so when I came home, I found it was like 4 a.m. and Sprout was still up, and I was kind of surprised, and I could feel that he was feeling a lot, right? And we just sat there, like for the first like maybe 30 minutes, we just sat there and we felt, because we could feel that our nervous systems were not connected and we're disconnected. There was something there. And there wasn't emotions. There wasn't there was stories, but we were just aware of them. Well, like, hey, this is what happened for me. This is what happened for me. And so we're able to move through whatever is playing out. We're able to see it beyond our stories. Doesn't mean we don't have the stories, but we're able to see the stories and then feel what's beneath it, what's deeper. And that's one of the things that I really feel so much gratitude for, is like, I've never been able to meet someone who can just be like, you're just a fucking mirror for me. Like, it's a cosmic joke because you're like, whatever it is that you're doing and I'm triggered by, it's just myself that I'm, and so that's like one of the experiences that I feel is really powerful when you're able to meet someone in a dualistic experience from a consciousness that's of something that you're both tapped into is beyond yourself. And that's something that I really feel in alignment with him. It's like we're using sex energy. We have a very powerful sexual connection, but how do we not keep it here? Like, how do we allow that to spin and move? And and like, and the amount of creative content when we're together, like, that comes through us, especially during sex, right? It's like we're in this like like this cycle of like making love, and then all of a sudden it's like all these ideas and downloads, like you were talking about your self-pleasure session. It's like, wow, so much is coming through, and it's like our channels are open and we're aware that there is some reason that we've been brought together.
That just reminds me, I was thinking about this on my run this morning, of what the fuck would be the purpose of relationships when, and you kind of answered it, when, this is what's happening in my life. I'm so in love with myself, self meaning nothing, right? Like the way I touch my body is like the most pleasurable sensation I ever have had. My orgasms bring me to a state of oneness every day, and I can live in that all the time. There's nothing, I don't need validation from another. I don't need to dump on anyone. I don't need, like full sovereignty in my being. It's been freaking awesome. So I was sitting there, because people ask me out on dates a lot, and I was sitting there going, why do I go on them? Like, what's the purpose? What is it? And I was thinking about it, and because I had one last Saturday, that gave me this, where we both were like, oh, it's literally just a mirror. Like literally that's it. And there's nothing else that needs to be there. Like there's no attachment necessary. There's no story necessary. Like literally the only purpose would be mirroring. And then maybe, I was thinking about this and I'm curious what you guys think about this. Maybe it's also, you know, like how when you're having sex, and this often happens in a female body, you'll watch a female body go like, she'll like turn a part of herself towards you that wants to be fed onto. Like it'll be like all of a sudden there'll be an ass in the air or like a neck like this, and you just know, okay, that's where I'm gonna meet it there.
That's where I'm going.
Right. And so like I wonder also if but she doesn't always know that that's what she wants, right? And it's like that's the beauty of having sex with another is that place. And so maybe the beauty of relating with another is that there may be places that you're showing yourself that you may not even know you want to be fed in or want to be met in. And then when it's met, you're like, oh shit, that was like even more than I thought was possible. I don't know if you, I mean, just to riff on the possibility of what's here in relating, but that's something I was playing with today and it feels juicy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I started hosting a workshop called Co-Creating New Paradigm Relationships a couple of years ago,
Awesome.
which eventually we were in California, and I was in Canada, and I called her and I was like, we should host a workshop in California, and we talked about relationships as a spiritual path, and I realized like co-creating new paradigm relationships as a spiritual path, they're basically just different languaging for the same piece. And today I was speaking to a guy and I was like, the piece is I'm in a relationship to everything. To everything in the universe. I'm in a relationship to everything. So everything, when I really see it as a spiritual path and the new paradigm of what it means in terms of mirroring and evolving, it's really about transformation. So this point we're going through right now is a lot of healing and transformation. So any person I'm relating in relationship with, I want there to be healing and transformation. So I'm transforming my being into something greater through the mirror. And that could be in a sexual act. Beautiful. It means I get more orgasms, more pleasure. Fucking wonderful. And it's just for anything else as well. It's like, how are we transforming? You know, it's like my sex energy, my sacral chakra is my creative potential. It's like sex is great, but it's just a creative force driving into this physical dimension. So yeah. So
I love that
relationship.
It just made me think about this idea that there's no special person, right? Like that the tree outside of my window is just as much my mirror as a lover in my bedroom, right? That
different kind of orgasms though. Different kind of orgasms,
right? Like the tree, my child gives me an orgasm in a different way, right? In a life force energy, vital mother energy, right? There's, you know, how you relate to sisters and brothers, right? And so, and I feel like what I'm loving stepping into and watching my clients step into is that none of these relatings need to be settling anymore, right? Even just like to hang out with a sister, like it doesn't need to be a place where you like open up a jar for them to dump into. It can actually be a highly transformational, like huge shift and everything, even you with a tree. Right?
And I feel like too, like a big shift is like shifting out of the boxes of like brother or sister or like friend, not friend. Like I'm really into this space of like, especially here in Holland, like the Dutch I feel like they're just so much more sexually evolved than like, especially in America, you know, they're just so much more open and there's just a lot more fluidity and less, I feel less shame. I mean, even the shops and things that they have, you know, in Amsterdam and I feel like it's so incredibly healing and powerful to be able to see a brother as a brother and then also a lover and then also a friend or whatever it is, you know, and vice versa. And like creating this transpersonal experience where it's like, yes, I'm with you, but also I'm, you know, with you and you're the same gender or trans or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's like,
Yeah.
I can be a friend with you. I can hold you. I can cook with you. I can make love to you. You can join us. Like, whatever it is, you know, I
Right.
really feel like it's the next kind of evolution of where we're going. Like, can we stop compartmentalizing? Like, you are this to me, or you are that. That's the box you fit in, and Sprout hates boxes. So it's like, that's the box you fit in. That's where you are. Like, can we just melt it all and create this true expansion of like, can we just be in the energy and the essence and with whatever is, knowing that that's what wants to come through, whether it's sex energy or rooted, grounded energy, support energy, whatever it is. It's like, and it's changing all the time, just as we are.
And I think it's when we shift out of this concept that we can be hurt from not having boxes, or we can be hurt from releasing definitions. Like,
safety.
We put them right. We put them on because we think it's safe, right, to have that thing. And then once we can allow ourselves to, and that's it with everything. With everything, right? Like, as much as we can allow ourselves to understand, like, in our nervous systems, we're never really not safe, right? And we can just play again, which is delicious. Yeah. What do you think about that, Sprout?
Yeah, just feeling into my nervous system, and like I'm really tapped into my energetic body and how my nervous system responds to things. And my childhood might have had some form of trauma, nothing huge, but definitely nervous system response. And nowadays, when I feel into it, I always have these micro traumas, these spaces where I freeze. Like, the more work I did, the more I find these little spaces where I freeze that are silly little spaces, but I notice how that affects me. And it's like, that's a piece of transformation for me. Like, how do I use my voice to communicate? It's so funny. It's like, my nervous system, if I was to put it into a box, my nervous system would be saying, like, you're not safe. But I don't have that box. I just have, like, oh, my nervous system is trying, oh, I can't use my voice. And I'm like, I'm like, oh, okay. Ooh, this is, okay, I got to breathe a little bit more, a little bit deeper. Okay, this is the space where I can learn. You know, I don't have this, I don't have, like, a lot of safety issues. I don't have trust issues. I still sometimes do fall into mistrust with people and do sometimes feel unsafe, but I don't really have it as a common denominator because I'm just I'm witness to my nervous system. I'm witness to it when I get a little aggressive, or I try to run away. Like, I'm witnessing myself in that experience, and sometimes I do give myself permission to get a little angry or run away. I'm like, I really don't want to be here right now, and I go out of there. But then I become aware, like, okay, how could I handle that in a way that will allow me to grow? Because ultimately, the more pieces of the puzzle I can figure out, the more I can surrender to life in everything that comes. And I might be blessed coming from, might be blessed coming, being a white male, being from Canada, not having a huge traumatic life. I might be blessed from that, but when I get into the subtle body layers, it's still happening. It's just not big and out of control. I don't walk around scared. I just notice the little pieces, and if I do my work, I can teach others how to communicate, how to effectively hold space for themselves. You know, I can use those tools. And, you know, the when only because I'm aware of those subtle layers, that when I feel that freeze, at times it's been a deep freeze, nothing like let's say being molested or something, but it's been deep enough for me to really be consciously aware of sitting with it and realizing if I expand on that, like, that's what some people go through their whole life. And I'm like, okay, I can have empathy for that experience. So utilizing that as a catalyst to learn the tools that others need.
I think just in general, and this is, I think, where, you know, it comes down to, people are probably watching going, how are the three of them just so easy peasy, easy going, like, life just flows through them, emotions just flow through them. I mean, sex is where like, where this is where sex comes in for me, right? Sexual sovereignty. Like, my own orgasm, my own flow, that's what released the need to hold. That's what released the right wrong paradigm for me. That's what released the, oh, I'm damaged, I'm traumatized, so then I must fix myself paradigm. I got to start to see, as you talk about, Sprout, the subtle layers, but got to see the divinity within me, and I can hold that space at the same time that I can watch myself freeze, react, be human. And it's holding both layers at once, where I feel I've seen no other tool other than the erotic tool be able to ground us in our human existence, in the depth of humanity, and bring us into divinity at the same time, right? Yeah.
I played around with it in the frame of BDSM, and the ability to, like, I could be in a, if I'm in a freeze, if I'm in a pretty deep freeze, like I can't move. If she hops on top of me and starts like rubbing against me, I can be out of that freeze. I can be out of that freeze in moments. Like, it might take me 30 minutes. Sometimes it might take me 20 minutes of emotional release. If you come and smack my face, or like tell me to pull your hair, I'll be like frozen, and you'll be like, pull my hair, and I'll pull your hair, flip you down, start to make love to you. Boom, I'm out of it in 20 seconds. And I've been like, wow. And I've had these experiences. I've had lovers that have been totally open to exploring this way, not in an unconscious way, but very aware that, like, they love and they trust and they feel safe with me, that I'm not, anytime, even if there's a little anger in the relationship and they want to catalyze that through a sexual experience, they know that if there's a bit of anger, it's not going to come and beat the crap out of them. It's just going to, like, smack them a little, pull their hair, and then lick their yoni or whatever you want to call it on your podcast. I don't know what you're allowed to call it.
Yeah, and that's it, right? Like, how can we use every sensation, every emotion as a catalytic force, right? Like, I was just last weekend, I was tied up, flung upside down, and I was having resistance. I was in this space and I could feel myself having resistance, and my dom could feel the resistance. And I was like, okay, and I could have said red at that point and dropped out, and and that would have been fine. But I was like, I know that I'm in a freeze right now. I know that I'm trying to jump out of my body and dissociate, and I can feel myself trying to do that. I can feel myself not wanting to surrender to him. I'm making up reasons why I don't want to trust him. Like, I can feel it. And so rather than jumping out and stopping, which would have been fine, I looked out the window and I saw a tree. I was like upside down, and I saw this tree. And the tree had these leaves that were blowing in the wind. And I was like, oh, I can do that. I'm just going to do that. And I looked at him and I was like, I'm going to be the tree, and I want you to keep going. And anytime that I am not the tree, let's pause and bring me back to the window and remind me of the tree. And what it allowed for was this cathartic, like, when I finally did release, I remember hanging upside down and being like, oh, like, that's why I had the moment of wanting to dissociate out, because there was this piece on the other side that was waiting, and I could use my erotic energy. And whenever I would start to freeze, he'd give me the orgasm to ground me back into my body, stay with him, and then move into that place. So it was like an intensely beautiful experience. And I'm just relating to, like, what you were saying, Sprout, about how can we take everything, every trigger, every emotion, and use it as a way to expand our consciousness, right? In every situation. Yeah, totally. So good.
The piece around, I was just going to say the piece around eros and your sex energy, it's such a catalyst. And when I look at relationships, and I was in a 9-year monogamous relationship, and what catalyzed this layer of my evolution was the sex wasn't working. Little did I know, I didn't know anything about emotions and vulnerability, but I thought I had the answer, and it was the sex. And so I had to go on this journey, but going through that, I realized, like, all these stagnant relationships that don't move any sex energy, they're so stuck that they won't even touch each other. They won't even be intimate with each other. And there's no way to catalyze your life force. So you're stuck in this relationship, living some sort of a job in which doesn't bring you to life, and you believe that whole story in that paradigm.
Can we name out what happens when sex energy is stuck? Because like it's fun to watch, like not fun, but it's a fun for people watching. They might be like, wow, that's actually happening. I've noticed bloating in people. They get really like their body starts to bloat and hold. I've noticed chronic illness. What else have you guys noticed?
Anxiety
in people's bodies?
Yeah. Any sort of mental, emotional, depression, anxiety, skin issues, like any sort of issue, any body issue, anything that's going on in your body. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's mental, emotional, if it's skin issues, if it's digestion, like digestion is like gut, like your gut instinct. Your gut is like, both Sprout and I have had a history with like having a gut-based issue, and it was just, we're out of alignment. It's like your body is your tuning fork. It's constantly telling you whether you're in alignment or out of alignment. And if you actually listen to it instead of try to suppress it with like, you know, medications or creams or whatever it is, and you actually start tuning in, like it's so much more wiser than we give it credit. But we would rather read a book or go to someone else who just looks at books and tries to tell us what our body only knows. And it's different for everyone, you know?
Yeah, totally. I would love to end with like a big hurrah because we're getting close to time. Do you guys feel like demoing a little bit or playing a little bit with each other and kind of moving the energy between each other, or how does that feel?
In which way? Like tying her up?
However you want to play. Yeah, finally, let's do it live for the first time ever.
That can be our next live.
Part 2. I love it. Someone asked a question too, so why don't you think on it and then we'll answer this question. I'm going to give you guys this question and then think on it, and then we'll come to like what feels juicy, and know that like we can also model a no and give them what that looks like, which is like, no, not right now, which is great. Angeline had a question, and this is great for you guys because you guys relating is your thing. She said, how do you get through the block and get it flowing? So no, like now, like once you recognize there's a block in a relationship, what do you do to get it actually moving and flowing again?
I think there's many ways you could do it. We were just talking about like sex, right? Sex is a great way. Like if you can get yourself out of your head enough to get into your body in any ways, it doesn't matter how you do it. You could dance, emotional release. You could shake. Like shaking is huge for the nervous system. Just put on some music and like shake your body. That's huge as well. Pillow pounding, pillow screaming, slapping. And animal play.
Yeah, like I want to be honest here. Like, and we haven't touched too deeply on new paradigm relationships, but when I get into it and I see every relationship is a mirror, so any relationship I hold close to me is a mirror of myself. It becomes like, you're actually me. So when I look at Amanda, I'm like, damn, I'm doing a fucking good job. Right. You know, I know that I'm doing a good job based upon the relationships, and I can track 3 years ago, I can track 6 years ago, and I can see where I've come. And I'm not attached to being like, you have to be with me forever. At a point, there might be a space in which we will move into different frames of this relationship. But right now, I'm like, I'm doing fucking pretty good. So when somebody asks a question like these blocks, is like, well, becoming consciously aware that this being that you're creating, you have these blockages with, or a mirror of where you're at, and do you actually want to be in that? Mm-hmm. Like this may not be, this evolution may be done, and you might need to move on. And if the blocks are easy enough, well, do your emotional release. Become consciously aware. Make love. And if you can't do enough emotional release and move it to the space that you can connect your nervous systems, well, then go to a therapist, go to a coach, come see us, talk to you. And if that doesn't work, well, maybe that relationship form needs to dissolve.
And I think that that's a really key piece, is like realizing that like there's an alignment in relationships. And one of the biggest pieces for me, at least around new paradigm relationship, is there is no ending, there is no beginning. It's a shift. Always. We're always shifting in and out. And it's like these attachments to like, no, but like you're my partner and we have like 15 years down the road or whatever it is. It's like, even if it's a year down the road, it's like shit shifts, you know? And so is this really, it served me at one point And if I'm finding a lot of restriction and constriction, like, am I growing more? And maybe this person isn't growing with me, isn't still able to meet me, or vice versa. Like, really look deeper into, like, how much struggle is there? How much resistance is there? And from that space, like, find your alignment. Maybe it's no longer serving me in the way that it was. Doesn't mean the relationship is over. It might just need to shift. And so that would be, something to think about.
Yeah. And so in that space of alignment, like, let's say, and she's done this many times to me, is like, where I'm kind of like frozen, stuck, she'll just hop on top of me. So for me, that's like real easy. If she's consciously aware, like, she knows I'm not gonna, like, I'm only resisting because my nervous system is a little like, ooh, it's a little frozen, and I really just can't do anything. So when she's consciously aware, she can just do the thing, and vice versa. If she's frozen, I just pull down her panties and start with my tongue, and it's like, boom.
Yeah. Right. Boom. Done.
Easy,
but back in alignment.
Done. Back in alignment. Oh, that moved. Now how do you feel? Oh, I feel transformed. This is wonderful. Let's go for dinner. Oh, perfect. We'll go for a date. Like, let's go.
There's another piece around this too. Oh, sorry. I think we're like lagged a little bit.
I was just gonna say.
Go, Genevieve, go. It's your turn.
I'm going, and then Sprout goes. Okay. One piece around this too that's coming up for me is, like, if you're in a relationship where you feel like the relationship might not be in alignment, rather than thinking about whether or not the relationship is or is not in alignment, go first into embodying the shit that's blocking you and moving through that, like moving your own stuff in your body fully. And then if the relationship is not in alignment, it's going to fall away very clearly. You won't have to think about it. You don't have to make the decision. It's just going to happen. Like, they'll disappear, they'll run off, something will happen, it'll explode, like, I don't know, whatever, poof will happen. And then you'll be so fed and so nourished because you've been working on yourself and growing into your new alignment that it won't even phase you. It'll just be like a reflection of, oh, great, what's next, right? So there's an ease that you can go about it, rather than like thinking and persevering about what you think you need to do about it. Just work on you and grow you, and it'll fall away.
Yeah, so 100%. 100%.
Add that in there. Okay, Sprout, go.
Yeah, I don't remember where I was anyways.
I knew he was going to do that. But there was one thing that came to me, though, in that is also, like, wherever your edge is, or wherever your fear is, wherever you're holding on to, and this is for anything in life, whether it's your relationship or whether it's your job or whether it's your story of your family, whatever it is, like, wherever it is you're fucking afraid to go there, right? Like, if there's this beautiful goddess woman, and I could feel that, like, Sprout and her had a connection, and I'm like, great, I'd love to witness that. And it's like, a part of me is like, contraction, no. And it's like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, no, beautiful. Like, let's just dive into that then. Like, if that's what's coming up for me, then why don't I dive into that? It's like, no rules, no attachments, no agreements, So it's like, okay, like I'm going to release that story of it being scary and just dive into it to see where it leads me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I love it.
And in regards to your question, oh, go ahead. Is somebody asking a question?
No, you're good. You guys are lagged and kind of funny. Am I frozen? Do I look silly?
No.
No, you look cute. You look very cute.
You look very cute.
Thank you. We have like 5 minutes left. In regards to my ask, how do you guys feel about showing a little bit of relating with each other before we end? Are you blushing, Sprout?
Sprout has one move. His move, if we're in a space together, and, like, let's say we're in a group space, he'll just go. And it's like, AKA, like, where can we find a space where I can lick your yoni, like, so that's his main move. And okay, so I have one last thing for the audience. We were at a tantric temple like 2 weeks ago, and we're sitting in a circle, and he had this connection with this woman. And he's like sitting here, and like everybody else is like not in their partnership. Like we're all just in this deep process of like sharing circle, right? Coming out on the other end of like a really deep temple night. And Sprout's like caressing this woman and like petting her, and he's like gazing at me across the room and like going like this to me as he's like petting and caressing this woman. And then and I'm like this fucker, dude. And he goes up and he whispers in her ear, and I know exactly what he said. He's like, hey, I want to share a vulnerability with you. And these are like word for word. And he's like, I wanna go somewhere and lick your pussy or something like that. And I was like, I cannot believe, like I knew what he was saying, and I'm like watching this play out like word for, I was like, he does that shit to me. Like, you know. And he's just so that's yep. Sprout's signature move. So ladies, if you're ever in a room with Sprout,
and my hand starts creeping down. Yeah, and my hand starts creeping down your thigh. You know it's happening.
It's happening. I love it. And that's something, Amanda, I love just in, you know, I don't know what to call myself. Like people are like, are you poly? I have no idea. I just love, I opportunistically love. When the opportunity is right there and the person's alignment, I'm gonna love, right? I'm not gonna not love. That's just how I show up. So what's really fun for me is watching lovers, right? With other lovers, and then being like, oh my God, that's what I get, or the illusion of I get when they're over there with them, and like feeling that I almost prefer it than having it on my body. Like I wanna be witness to the magic that I get to receive all the time. It's amazing, right? It's the best thing ever. So good.
Yeah.
Yay! All right, guys. I gotta run because I have a client. But I guess we'll relate later.
We'll relate later in person when we come see you.
Yay!
Or when you come see us.
Yay!
We'll have fun. Maybe Sprout will tie you up because he doesn't tie me up.
Sprout!
Yay!
Yay! Wait, we're gonna just keep making it the story, but we only have to do it if we'll keep making it the story that you'll never tie Amanda up. Like we have to make sure she knows that'll never happen. Just to trigger the
and I'll keep playing out the story that I'll go to all the other men to get what I need.
Yeah, totally. I'll give you my rope dom who will tie you up.
Beautiful.
Cupiting is so fun. You guys are awesome. If people want to follow you more, because I'm sure people are meeting you the first time on my channel, where do they go? What do they look for?
You can find my website, intimacyunleashed.com. On Instagram, I have two. I have Intimacy Unleashed, and I also have Art of Surrender _Shibari Healing. Which are beautiful. And you can find me on Facebook, Intimacy Unleashed, and Sprout Love.
Great.
Yeah. Beautiful. And you can find me amandabickham.com or on Facebook.
Yay.
You can also find her podcast. You can find her podcast, amandabickham.com/podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, Genevieve, thank you so much. Honestly, I love the work that you do, and I love the way you show up, and I love the way you're pulling the shadows out into the light and creating more pleasure for everyone on the planet. Like we had a group, we did a temple night, and we had a group self-pleasure ritual, and I was like feeling you in the field, and I'm like, yes, she would love this. So thank you for all the work you do. It's amazing. Bringing more people pleasure, helping people own their pleasure is such a powerful tool for transformation. So thank you for having us on.
Thank you, guys. And thank you for showing everyone what's possible to love freely. Really, really appreciate it. Bye, guys.